Good morning, Gaetana. It's such a pleasure to be with you here in New York. Gaetana Jacono is at the head of her family estate, Valle dell'Acate in Ragusa, Sicily. And my earliest memories of your wines were back when I was working for Morel in 2001 or 2002, and I met you at the Paul Anner tasting, and I tasted the Frappato, and I was absolutely blown away because at that time in the early aughts, Sicilian wine, there was no real Etna on the market yet, except for a little bit here and there. Sicilian wine was Nero in barrique, 15% alcohol, and essentially the undrinkable wine of the moment. And then here I am at this tasting, and I get a glass of red wine from you, and it's delicate and perfumed and pretty. And I think now, as I look back on my career, that was, for me, the birth of the new Sicily, this new identity that Sicily could be elegant and pretty and enticing and racy and interesting and more than what was going on up until that time. So welcome to New York, and can you talk a little bit about being at the helm of Valle dell'Acate
since many years. Thank you, Mark, to give me the opportunity to speak of a long, long story that about me and Frappato in US and in New York especially. And yes, of course, I worked in my winery from more than 20 years, so I look young, but I'm not so young. And I felt in love for this beautiful grape and this beautiful wine, Frappato, and of course the Cerasuolo di Vittoria, that is the only DOCG in the province of Ragusa. But I felt in love for the story of my family that did the wine business in the province of Ragusa great, because they delivered the wine to France in 1870, and the wine inside of the little barrels was Frappato. Incredible. So that is incredible, because people think that they carry French people or other people, they carried only for the color, but Frappato, is a long story, was carried for Frappato characteristic, so the smell, the bouquet. So this long story of the travel of these grapes, this wine, makes me very happy to follow the tradition, but with my vision and my mind, my open mind. I started many years, and I immediately understood that this Frappato, this wine Frappato, that was elegant, but it was a light red, was too early for European market, too early for many markets, and in US I couldn't find the right path for this wine.
I think it's really interesting that the Frappato was appreciated outside of Italy, right? You were saying that it was shipped from Ragusa all the way up to northern Italy and also into France to be blended in with other wines in the late 1800s, right? And then later on, when you took the helm of your estate, you found, I mean, the birthplace of your market was the United States, because American consumers are so open and curious about the wines of the world. They were more ready to taste Frappato than maybe the other Sicilians or Italians.
It was too early for the other market for this type of wine, and thanks to the 7 soils that I have 7 different soils in my vineyards that are organic, certified for forever, and I understood to have a great soils with a great identity to the Frappato special and the Nero d'Avola, but of course only to make the blend with Frappato in the Cerasuolo di Vittoria. But I discovered that these special soils of Frappato, that is black with the white stones, gave me a great identity. So I need to find the right place that makes an appreciation for this wine. And I found the right way in 1999 here in New York.
Amazing.
And that was, of course, that was for me very a great satisfied, because I always believe in this Frappato, and I can consider me a pioneer. I bring on my hand this Frappato to propose a new style of Sicily, because the province Ragusa and the soil that I have in Valle dell'Acate gives wine elegant but never muscular. So I have this beautiful wines today that is perfect for the healthy food, perfect for the style that people want to drink today, and especially Frappato, but also the Cerasuolo, also the Grillo Zagra. The style is mineral, elegant, not powerful, not overreach. And today they are perfect, but more than 20 years I need a grape to work, but I'm very satisfied to make it this work, because this is a corner of Sicily, the province of Ragusa, beautiful for not only for the wines,
but
for
also the
food.
architecture, the food, of course. The architecture is wonderful. The Baroque architecture is wonderful. Can you, Valle dell'Acate, the valley of the Acate River. The Acate River, they don't call it the Acate anymore.
Valle dell'Acate is a romantic name that my father wants to give to this winery, because he has a great philosophy about the nature, the respect of nature. So the winery and the vineyards are organic, but for me and for my family, to be sustainable, organic, natural is a philosophy of a part of our life. So when he thought a name for this winery, he thought that the best idea was to go deep in the nature of the valley of this small town that's called Acate. But Acate is also is a river, a small river that we have, that's called in Greek language Akates. So today the small town is called again Acate, but one time called Biscari. That's what. If we were in Tuscany, is a bad word. But
thank goodness we're in Sicily or New York.
But we are in Sicily. So it was a name that my father once, he didn't want to put the Jacono family in this Valle dell'Acate. He preferred to give a romantic sense of the area where we are and where we was accepted from 6 generations.
Yeah. And so Frappato is, you're the pioneer of Frappato, and here we are today that we have a new wine in your classic lineup. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, for many years, for more than 20 years when we met, I have only this Frappato. One thing that I want to say that maybe many consumer doesn't know is that the Frappato produced in the province of Ragusa is Frappato DOC Vittoria. That is make a great difference. If you open a bottle makes in the area of Vittoria and you open a bottle of Frappato outside, that's EGT or some other things, or come from Palermo, you find a great difference. So the old grape Frappato that was born in the province of Ragusa in Vittoria area makes the DNA so strong that has a great identity. So this is make a little different. That I know that is difficult for consumer to understand, and but is important to know that the Frappato Vittoria DOC from Vittoria is different from Frappato EGT makes in Agrigento,
right?
Palermo.
Because when you see DOC Vittoria, it means that those grapes that made that wine came from a delimited area of Sicily in
Exactly.
Ragusa,
Exactly.
and make the wine more special than if the grapes came from Palermo
Another part.
or
Yes, yes, this is different. You can perfect understand drinking the different wines. And this is something that's important to know. And so my Frappato was Frappato Vittoria DOC for many years, and is an explosion of strawberry, blackberry, and the wine is is so crispy and
it really has to be tasted to believe. I encourage everybody to have a glass of your Frappato immediately, because you pour it into the glass and it literally jumps out of the glass to meet you at your nose, and it just the pleasure of drinking it is undeniable.
Yes, yes, of course. And also another thing that is important, you can serve the Frappato chilled and use with fish, with mussels and salmon, tuna, and
Very versatile.
yes, and red wine with fish, that's today is very modern. For this little corner of Sicily, the province of Ragusa, is something very old, because it's normal for us to drink Frappato di Vittoria with the fish. So this, I like to call this wine a small great wine, because as he has a characteristic, it's beautiful on the nose, and in the taste is very floral, rose and violet flower, and it's not too much alcohol inside the wine. So for 20 years, I bring this bottle and I was very proud to present this sense of producing wine in Sicily, different from other parts of Sicily. Last year, in the vintage 2023, I thought that was the right moment to put in evidence another expression of Frappato. I can say that this is my tribute to my grandfather that wants to buy this property in 1870, and he was a visionary and he was a positive. And when I think my work, I inspired to him that wants to buy this property for the Frappato, and I feel a very link with this person, and for that reason, the label that I did is a label dedicated exactly, and is a copy of another label that I have in the winery from 1906.
Oh, so this is the historical label from 1906, is
yes.
what you're saying. Okay.
And so the right time became because now I completely the head of the vineyards and the winery. I follow everything. And I worked so much around the world about the Frappato. And I know for many years that in these small vineyards, less than 2 hectares, organic of course, I have the original vines that my parents planted when they bought the property. And these small vineyards, close to the Acate River, very close, made that has a soils very black clay, but the stones are more big than the other Frappato. So the soil is very big nutrition, more intensive. And I have always seen that the Frappato comes from this small vineyard, was more concentration, more deep color. So I thought that was the right moment to present a new version of the Frappato, not losing the style of the identity of the Frappato. I don't use wood, never, for the Frappato. And the wine is vintage 2023 and has a much more concentration and much more complexity on the taste respect of the other Frappato.
I think the Cru wine really shows what Frappato can do. And there's the entry level wine is absolutely pleasurable drinking, but for those who want to go a little bit deeper and have a more visceral experience with Frappato and see what Frappato can do, the Cru wine is the wine.
It's correct. This is a point. This is my print. This is my sign, and this is what Frappato can give in a beautiful expression, different from the entry-level Frappato. So I was very proud of this wine, and of course I'm having a lot of success. People understood, and people are pleased are happy to drink this type of wine. That's I think is also for people that want to continue to drink wine well. And so this Frappato represents also for me a link between the past and the future. The future is represented because Frappato I consider a wine for the future, for the characteristic that we talked before, very light and modern, fresh. So this is the wine for future for me. And the past, because just this vineyard was the past of the Frappato, and his concentration and his complexity represents for me the link with the past. Yeah. So I think there's a perfect combination with the future and the past.
And so you mentioned that it's a small vineyard. It's one of the original vineyards that was bought in 1870 by your great-great-grandfather. What's different about these two wines, technically speaking, in fermentation?
Yes.
And élevage.
The first wine, the Frappato, that's the main soils that I have in the winery. The Frappato, we call entry level, but we love so much. And
we can call it Classico, Frappato Classico and
Frappato
Cru.
Contrada or Vigna. Yeah. And Frappato Classico come from middle September, and also remains in stainless steel. And of course we need to give more time in refining battle, but I'm sorry, sometimes we haven't because we sold out the Frappato. But I have seen that if you give time also for the Frappato Classico, Frappato is beautiful to say. And short days in maturation and still stale. The first different is the Frappato Contrada Vigna di Bidine Sotana. This is the long name, so I short in Contrada. Is in cement, not in stainless steel. Okay. And that became more round to the wine. For me, it's more natural.
Cement provides a little more oxygen for the wine as it develops.
Yes, and so the grapes we normally at the harvest a little bit later respect of the other Frappato, but it's very small, so it's very we are put very attention on this grape because it's not very there are not many grapes in this vineyard. The vineyard is very old, so we put attention. The maturation is a little bit long than the other Frappato, and we don't use yeast selected, but we don't use for all the wines, so all natural is. Okay. And so the cement for me, the first point is the grape. The second point is the grape where he is and where the vineyard is. Yeah. So it's another thing. So when you have the grapes on the track, you see, oh my God. And then the cement for me gives a great round and more natural to preserve this wine.
Okay.
And of course, you can see, testing the wine, you can see a great difference that's starting from the soil and the place where the vineyard is.
Well, I want to thank you because you've brought Frappato to the U.S. You're the pioneer, the ambassador of Frappato di Vittoria in the United States, and for me, you really opened my mind to the potential of Sicily, and I think that is what then made things like the resurgence of Etna even possible, because there are people like Gaetana Jacono out there pushing that Sicilian wine isn't just one single identity. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for bringing more Sicily to the United States, and thank you also for giving us this beautiful window into Frappato, because now not do we only have the Frappato Classico, we also have the Frappato Contrada to sort of keep going down the road of learning and education and tasting of what the potential of Sicilian wines can be.
Thank you too, Mark, because I cannot do anything with the support of the people that work with me. So, and you and Skurnik, but of course, you know that nothing is possible to do alone.
Yeah.
But you can, if you have a good things, but you need the support of other people that believe in you and believe in your wine. So I found a right place for my wine and for me in US, and in New York was I think was the first. So it was I have a very good relationship with the people, and to bring this wine and to share my story. You know that I think that we cannot forget ever that the wine is a culture, and in this particular moment, difficult, we cannot.
We
forget.
need more culture. We need more wine and more culture. I think.
Yes,
I agree.
we cannot forget that the wine is a culture of the people. For Italy, is a cult made in Italy. Sometimes the word "made in Italy." Wine is a culture, part of the culture of Italy, of France, of everywhere, and we cannot. Forget this because also for the next generation, maybe we can work to learn that wine is part of their culture, and they cannot forget it.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.